Uranus is an ice giant, discovered in the late 18th century by William Herschel. So, will humans ever visit this pale blue planet? Well, considering that Uranus is around 20 times more further away from the Sun than the Earth is, this will be a tough trip to bear. Because even to get to Mars, which is not even double the distance from the Sun than the Earth is, it will take on average 9 months with a current technology to reach it. Using that number, to reach Uranus with a current technology, it would take around 10 years to get there with a human crew. But the ship would also need to carry tons of supplies like food, meaning it is very questionable whether or not we are in ability to safely get humans to Uranus. But we already did get a human machine there, a space probe, which is Voyager 2. In 1986, humanity for the first time saw up-close pictures of Uranus and saw its 5 spherical moons. So let's say that humans somehow got to Uranus with a current technology, which is barely possible. So then what will they do? For one, landing on Uranus would not be possible because it is mostly gas and there is no solid surface, and the temperature in the atmosphere of Uranus is around -220 Celsius, making it the coldest planet in the solar system. This all seems very uninviting for human exploration. For that reason, humans will have to land on one of the 5 spherical moons of Uranus. But none of the moons have an atmosphere and are mostly just rocky and icy, contaminated with some dark material. They are very dead, and every single one of the spherical moons has a smaller surface area than the continent of Australia. All these factors led to them becoming pretty forgotten. So, setting a foot on one of these moons would not be very useful for humanity. But there is one spherical moon, Miranda, which is one of the strangest places in the solar system. Likely, these humans will land on this tiny moon, which has a similar surface area to Chile, a country on Earth, and they likely will settle here. Humans that are there will get to study Miranda up close, and will get to see its deformed landscape, with strange, hard-to-explain patterns occurring throughout the whole surface, and they would see giant canyons and mountains, which we barely know how they even formed on such a tiny object, since there's no geologic activity. And if the human crew is in the right place, they would see Uranus. It would appear gigantic and would take up a giant patch of the sky, as Miranda and Uranus are 130,000 kilometers away from each other, which is 3 times closer than the moon is from the Earth. But you can also fit 63 Earths inside Uranus, so you can only imagine how big would Uranus seem from Miranda. Now, the low density of Miranda suggests that it is amazingly 60% water ice. So if the human crew runs out of water, they can melt some of the ices on the surface, but the liquid water likely could not be used for drinking. While the human crew would be studying Miranda, they might finally prove a theory right for sure, that Miranda in the far past was shattered by a giant object, destroying it into pieces. Then the gravity pulled the object together, and when it was done, it looked very deformed, leading to today's strange surface of Miranda. Or they might find some other reason as to why Miranda is so weird looking. After that mission, humans will likely head back to the Earth, meaning another 10 years of traveling through space. Now here's another important thing that would pose a problem throughout the whole trip, and even on Miranda. That is low gravity. Our human body is adapted to constant gravity of the Earth, this constant force, till the day that we die. And the sudden change of that would in a short time not be noticeable, but going on a mission that will take around 2 decades, their body would suffer greatly, as their bones would start losing density. They wouldn't be able to return to Earth with high gravity, and their blood flow would change, and their heart would suffer because of that. Many more of the side effects could be developed, which could lead to death. Unless humans know how to create an artificial gravity and efficiently get all the food stored for such a long time, unless that, a mission to Uranus would just not be very much possible with current technology. But likely in a couple of decades in future, when humanity does develop the technology mentioned, then a mission to Uranus would be possible. The best scenario is that we would put the human crew in a state of hibernation, add artificial gravity, and then set off to Uranus. Then a mission from human crew's eyes would seem like 1 second, since it would be like sleep. That 1 second would be 10 years, and they would be safe. But until that technology is made, we are just not in ability to visit Uranus. The mission would most likely be fatal. So we should keep on developing new technology so we can finally visit other worlds and see what interesting secrets they hide.